about these things. I would go out tonight, but I haven't got a stitch to wear. This man said it's gruesome that someone so handsome should care. This child will not. This child will not. A jammed up pantry boy who never knew his place. He said, return the ring. He knows so much about these things. He knows so much about these things. He knows so much about these things.
Hello everyone, my name is Notepad Anon and I write games for fun. So what are we doing today? We're going to be working on, you guessed it, we're going to be working on Soldat Sans Identite. Some more last time, which was 2 days ago because I am lazy and constantly get sidetracked with things, is we wrapped up equipment section, which turned out to be pretty alright. Not exactly the most extensive section, but it doesn't really need to be. And now we're going to be working on the political game, Factions. Now, factions are I'd say, fundamental part of the game, because that's how you, the character, the sea soldier, is going to be staying alive more than anything. And if you look over here, I have everything in place, partially based on Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri and partially based on Blades in the Dark system. So bear that in mind. So now we just need to write the initial bit. Bum, bum. There's various interest groups. The world is filled with various interest groups, political parties, and ideologies. In the presence of sea soldiers who need energy, resources, and security, these factions. Willing to ally themselves with them. Let's see. A faction is composed of various factors. all of which inform how they operate, where they operate, how they operate, what they control, and what they bring to the table to assist with wayward sea soldiers. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. Oh, let's wayward sea soldiers. I did steal a majority of this just from Blades in the Dark, such as the tier system, but because I think that works pretty well. So what I'm going to do is copy paste this. Also realize all of this is an Arial for some godforsaken reason. No, normal text. Basic function run. So I wrote these down. There's the factions. Factions, assets, and need to field new equipment, new resources. Ability to field new equipment. Ability to field new equipment. Ability to field factions, assets. More new equipment. And ability. And ability to manipulate the world. So effectively, what these can be summarized as is, actually, we just want to underline. The leader is the man who is the individual in charge. The agenda is pretty much what they want. The tier is how influential, how powerful they are. Support represents, how much people actually like them. Morale represents how internal cohesion. Resources act at how much just assets and money they can throw at problems. And power is how much military forces they can muster. That's effectively how it goes. So now we're going to add leadership. Faction is only as strong as its leader. Is only as strong as its leader. While most leaders can be regarded as competent, The faction leader's skill and ability will determine where, how, of where, what, of where and how they will enforce their will. When determining the leader of the organization, determine their power base. Determine their power base, skills, and let's see, power base. Oh yeah, power base, supporters, and opposition. We're going to create and we're going to do an example faction. The Red River Gang. Let's see, leaders so rarely act alone. Some leaders also rarely act alone. They have lieutenants, confidants, right hand individuals, and enforcers of their will. In addition, leaders frequently have opposition within the ranks, often led by another charismatic individual who would like nothing more than to dominate the faction with their own agendas. An example, the Red River. We'll make 2 example factions, actually. Church of Unitary Understanding. Red River Game, Church of Unitary Understanding. Oh yeah, example faction. Yeah, the news one says there we go. What am I looking at here? Yo. Leader. Leader. Big. Hello, phone. How are you? What do you need? Nothing. You need nothing. Big redism. That's a mean mouse. Little biker, drug runner, and every other type of criminal in the books. He established this gang when he was young and when he was up and coming. But over the years, the old bastard has become the old bastard has become a noted force in the city. With the growth of the gang, though, he's attracted his fair share of rivals outside, and inside his group. He'll fight tooth and goddamn nail for the streets. Goddamn, he'll fight tooth and goddamn nail for the streets and drench them in blood if he has to. Subleader. Little Red is the boss's shadow and equal parts asshole. He'll, while not as ambitious as Big Red, he's the first one to enforce the plans. Enforce the plans and loyalty within the ranks. Opposition. Jules is the Jules is arguably Big Red's closest friend and most hated rival. The two started the gang together and fully support it together. But where Big Red wants power, Jules wants consolidation. Diplomatic at heart. Jules isn't afraid to get his hands dirty, but he won't. But he doesn't approve of brute force tactics, as it's not sound business. And the Church of Unitarian. Actually, we'll do something a little bit more official. We'll do it both sides. We'll skip Church of Unitarian Understanding. Just want to say government, leader, and may the Hawthorne is a woman dedicated to her city and works tirelessly to improve it. Scandals in the administration notwithstanding. Well, she would be the first one to say the city needs improvement. She'll also protect her own without hesitation. She needs... Her power is derived not from popularity, but from the iron-fisted control of the police and financial sectors. Let's see there. Oh, God. If you ever want to know what those terrifying sounds are I'm making, that is me snapping my back into place. Lackey. Chief Yang. Yang Loon. Yang. Wang Jun is a dedicated cop. On the force. And rose through the ranks with a combination of familial connections, good ideas, and a hefty amount of internal politicking. He's in the pocket of Mayor Hawthorne, and everyone knows it. But where most think Yang's an idiot, he does keep a tight watch over his own people. And then we have opposition. Terry. Not Terry Davis, because we don't want a Temple OS showing up here. Terry Phelps. Terry is running on a ticket of reforming government and ousting Hawthorne's more entrenched allies. He's a good man at heart with some good ideas. But he has been actively working with some of the seedier elements of the city to get the money, support, and incidents needed to keep Hawthorne on her toes and force her to make gaffes. A seasoned politician, a dangerous politician. Ambitious gang leader. Loyal lackey. Diplomatic gangster. Hawthorne. There's no... If I've learned one thing... I've learned one thing. Anyone named Hawthorne's pretty usually evil. Like, just like a 95% chance of, like, being evil. Politicking. What do I want to say here? Dedicated and reformer. What am I... Yeah, there we go. Actually, let me do a side note. Expanding power. Character's power. There is no need to fully name and put a face to every facet of the faction. Leadership is to represent the major factors in controlling the faction and keeping it functional. If a leader were to pass away or lose power, then the opposition would possibly take their place. The goal here is to create a face for the faction that summarizes their points of view, values, nuance, and some of their nuances. What this doesn't mean is that the faction has to be them one for one. They just have to walk the walk and talk the talk. The agenda setting. The faction's agenda falls into one of three categories: a single purpose goal, a dedicated reform, or a desirable ending. A single purpose goal is an agenda. Blah blah blah. Words. Is an agenda focused around a singular idea, or a desired end. How do I want to word this? So might as well the Centauri give me nope, that's not what I want. There we go. There we go. Faction traits. What am I looking? I know what I'm looking for here. No, that's not it. Keep clicking on the wrong goddamn thing. Faction sets. There we go. This is what I'm kind of looking for. Faction's agenda is their overall goal and the desired outcome of their situation. Some agendas are short-sighted and simple. While other agendas may be epics that are difficult to fully accomplish at the best of times. When creating a faction's agenda, simplify their core ideas and plans down as much as possible, as to create a broader understanding. Of their stances. The agenda is not. The agenda acts more as a faction. Personality. Faction personality, rather than a series of hard goals that they seek to accomplish. So, example agendas. Actually, we'll use example faction, Church of Unitary Understanding. We'll also use the other example faction. What's a good idea for it? What's another good one? The domino family. Let's see. Agenda. Spread the religion. Destroy the opposition. Hegemony, the underworld. Example. The Red River Gang. Agenda. Become the undisputed power. Become the undisputed leaders of the underworld. Example faction. The New Swansea government. Agenda. Establish law and order. The faction, the Minutemen. Protect local neighborhoods from criminal elements. Criminal and outside elements. Agendas are what drive factions into conflicts and negotiations. Two factions sometimes. So two factions may have mutually exclusive goals, which may prevent them, which may spark conflict, As we can see here through our examples, the Domino family is obviously going to get into the Red River Gang, and all those guys are going to get into the New Swansea government and the Minutemen, while the church is not necessarily going to be getting into any fights, but again, destroy the opposition. They may say, well, any of these are opposition to them. So you already have this kind of conflict going out throughout these people, and that's the point. You want them to get into fights. You want them to get angry at each other. And tier. Tier represents the amount of power the faction controls, how well known they are, and their ability to muster resources/power. Tiers are split into. Tiers are ranked from 0 to 5, with 0 being no-name groups with little influence, and tier 5 being massive controlling forces inside of the overall. Mass controlling forces that are well known. When determining the tier of the faction, think about how powerful they are, how well known they are, and how they are able to use that power. Now we're going to insert a table. We'll just make it 2x4 right now. Tier. Example faction. Tier. Influence. Right click. We want to add a column to the right. Tier. Influence. Example faction. Tier 0. Influence 9. Example faction. Small criminal gangs. Small criminal gangs. Sea soldier squads. Yep, small criminal gangs. And then we want to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Influence. Neighborhood. Street blocks. Sections of city. City. multiple cities. Actually, let's open up. Let's consult. Let's consult where I'm actually taking this from. Da 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 blades. Let's see. How do they interpret some of these? $283. Okay, so let's see. In terms of tier of being the controlling forces of the city or region. Determine tier 5. 5/6 being the controlling force of the city/region. Let's see. Red River Gang, Domino Family. New Swan, say a government. New Swan, say. New Swan, say PD. Church of Unitarian Understanding. Not a very big church at the end of the day, but they just want to do things. Yeah, the Minutemen. University of New Swansea. New Swansea. United States government. Actually, let's it'd be New Pacific States government. PC. Pacific States of America government. PSA. Why are you automatically going to Ariel? This is a really simplified and almost bastardized way of doing it, but groups and factions. Factions may rise through the tiers and become more powerful. As they gain strength and begin to control more aspects of the region. This also works the other way. With gangs, departments, organizations falling from favor. Actually, during pharmaceuticals. Actually, no, screw it. Shizuka Walker Pharmaceuticals. In fact, I spelt that right in the first time. I'm actually surprised with myself. Go me. Become more powerful as they gain more resources. Normal text. Let me guess. You're all Ariel, aren't you? Yes, you are. Maybe that's what's going on. This also works the other way. Gain partner falling from favor, losing their position in hierarchy of power. Which brings me to side note: stacking influence. Some factions are simply a combination of smaller factions forming a massive pyramid. In this case, the faction on top is rarely able to be. The faction on top is the most influential and has the most power. However, individual factions internally may become more or less powerful, but stay in the quote umbrella of a larger organization. Example: Niswan say government. Niswan say PD. Niswan say PD detective unit. The detective unit is a smaller branch with less influence than the PD and the police department in general, which has less influence than the government. So when building larger factions, consider breaking them up and forming smaller ones internally. Well, actually, I had a second side note where we stand. Factions have niches. Some would like nothing more than factions have niches. when determining and building the various factions of the world, feel free to rank each one individually in their own specific niche, using blades in the dark as an example. Their niches are the underworld, criminal elements, the fringe, outsiders and weirdos, institutions, the government and such, the government and other official groups, and labor and trade, workers and internal group, and smaller groups, and workers and labor organizations. The underworld factions can influence other niches, but they'll only gain power through gain power in the underworld. Same goes for institutions and labor and trade groups. Being a part doesn't mean that there won't be conflict. Little insert table right here, paste use, stacking influence. see, actually, let's do hated, disapproval, disloyal, waning loyalty. Oh, what's a good another good for high morale? Word for high morale. No, confidence, that's it. Confidence. Half of me wants to put mechanics behind these, the other half of me doesn't, so... There we go. Factions with high support would enjoy public approval for their actions. And are allowed to get away with more things to avoid bad public relations. They are often supplied by the people to keep morale. Supplied people to redistribute due to their loyal followers. However, factions with low support high support, low support, find themselves belittled and actively hated by the civilian populace, by the average populace, which can lead to a lack of support and more difficult recruiting. Factions who enjoy high morale enjoy high morale, have the faith of their employees, have the faith of their followers to lead them to glory and prosperity. A fanatical following will dedicate resources, time, and ability to making sure that the make sure that the faction is performing well. Even performing tasks that may be considered less than moral. Factions with low morale have the loyalty of their members questioned. They're more easy to break, easier to be misled, and can/will and can/will sabotage the organization if things go wrong. Okay. And finally, power. Resources and power. Where supports and morale represent perception and ability to use that perception. Resources and power are the physical assets to manipulate the world. I would say table. Factions with high resources have access to more programs, cores, subroutines to give to their loyal sea soldier allies, as well as bankroll operations that they can be a part of, or thwart. Factions with high power have a larger ability to procure weaponry and augmentations for the sea soldiers in their employ, allowing a soldier to gain the tools necessary to survive and thrive in the hostile world. And I want to place you right there. Why are you the way that you are? Let's see. How do I want? Standing forces, high security, heavy security, private army, actually private, heavily armed, private army, resources, survival assets, keeping lights on, paying salaries. Let's see. Let's see, paying salaries, wealthy, filthy rich. There we go. And maybe not the most accurate, but right now I just want to get everything written down more than anything. That includes you guys up there. I don't think you can get away from this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert a table right here. We're going to do a full example faction. The Red River Gang. Leader, Big Red. Agenda, what did I end up? Tier, what are they? No, by putting them in tier. Tier 2, Underworld. Supports, low. Morale, high. Resources, this is average. Power, high. Red River Gang is strong and able to field resource, able to field a decent amount of resources with dangerous individuals. Not exactly a powerful force in the war. Not exactly powerful force in the city, but a rising one indeed. If they can take down their chief rival, the Domino family. Full example faction, the Church of Unitary Understanding. Leader, Father Alexander. Agenda. Tier 1, Fringe. Support, high. Morale, very high. Resources, average. Power, low. Actually, very low. The Church of Unitary Understanding. Understanding has a positive reputation through a plethora of good acts and humanitarian assistance, leading them to become a relatively small but impactful organization in the fringes. All they need to do now is establish themselves with a little bit of bite. Example faction. And there we go. We have our two factions. There we go. I think that works pretty well. How much did we add? We added about 500 words. So, what are we going to be doing maybe tomorrow if I don't, act like a complete jackass and keep going to sleep random hours? Blame the end of days. Actually, I'm going to turn this music off. It's annoying me. Got my music. But tomorrow we're going to be working on cores and subroutines and wrapping that up nicely. Actually, you can save this. Yes. So instead of enemies and threats, we're going to be working on cores, subroutines, programs, cores, and subroutines. And how I'm going to effectively be doing that is going to have a create a program system. I'm going to give about a dozen example cores, and I'm probably going to do like 2 for each of our example factions. And then just a giant list of subroutines. Pretty much, subroutines are like +1 this, +1 that. Like they're not like supposed to be like these big impressive things. They're more about these passive buffs. That's why you level up effectively, is plugging in subroutines and cores. So looking here, I think we did quite a bit today. We added about 7 pages of stuff. So thank you all for watching and listening. If you haven't yet, feel free to hit that follow button. I try to stream most days. And also look at my YouTube channel. Just go to Notepad add-on on YouTube, and I'll be probably the first one to show up. I'll be uploading all my streams eventually. I'm slowly working on getting everything else uploaded, mostly the iron caskets. And from there, let's see. Still don't know quite what I want to do after Soldat Sans Identite. I'll be thinking about that as we go along. However, you can also visit my website at notepadaddon.wixsite.com/sprugworkshop, which I have all my games located at. So thank you all very much. And I want you all to have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you very much. Goodbye.